We're counting down the 7 maple syrup brands Canadians need to avoid right now. From bottles masking lab-made sweeteners with old-fashioned imagery to syrups loaded with questionable additives and misleading labels, these brands set the table for far more than just breakfast betrayal. Which one sets the standard for fake from day one? Let's begin with number 7. Log Cabin Syrup has been selling the rustic fantasy of maple for over a century, but the reality is pure laboratory engineering. When Patrick Towle introduced Log Cabin in 1888, the recipe skipped maple entirely, relying instead on corn-derived glucose to fill the bottle. Early ads flaunted a frontier cabin and maple leaves, but the ingredient panel today still omits maple syrup. Instead, you will find corn syrup as the first ingredient, with sodium hexametaphosphate added to keep the texture smooth and prevent crystallization. Caramel coloring supplies the classic amber look, masking a formula that is 100% synthetic. For generations, Log Cabin has wrapped industrial sweetener in nostalgia, setting the template for fake syrup that looks the part but never once tastes like real maple. Mrs. Butterworth's syrup fills its iconic bottle with a double dose of corn-derived sweeteners. The first 2 ingredients, high fructose corn syrup and regular corn syrup, deliver a heavy load of processed fructose, far removed from anything tapped from a maple tree. To mimic the thickness of real maple, cellulose gum is added, a plant fiber processed from wood pulp. Flavor is engineered with both natural and artificial additives, creating an imitation maple taste that never once comes from sap. Hepatology reviews, including a 2022 clinical summary, link high intake of fructose-rich syrups like these to increased risk of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. For families pouring this on pancakes, it is not just about fake flavor. It is a health warning hiding in plain sight. Pearl Milling Company syrup, now owned by PepsiCo, does not even try to hide its ultra-processed formula. The label lists sodium benzoate, a preservative that is flat-out banned by Whole Foods Market, alongside artificial maple flavor and high fructose corn syrup. That is 3 strikes for any shopper looking for clean ingredients. Whole Foods keeps Pearl Milling off its shelves, citing a public list of unacceptable additives that includes sodium benzoate and artificial flavors. Instead of pure maple, this syrup is built on the same kind of sweetener base PepsiCo uses in its sodas. For a product still wrapped in breakfast nostalgia, it is a chemical cocktail that no natural grocer will touch. Hungry Jack's syrup stands out for its microwavable plastic bottle, a feature few competitors offer. The label gives clear instructions to heat the syrup right in the bottle for quick, pourable sweetness. But this shortcut comes with a catch. Food scientists have long warned that heating plastics, even those labeled microwave safe, can increase the migration of chemical additives into food. The exact resin and migration data for Hungry Jack's bottle remain locked away. Neither the brand nor regulators have published public test results. The ingredient list adds another layer of concern. Sorbic acid, a preservative used to inhibit mold, keeps the syrup shelf stable, but it signals how far the product has strayed from natural maple. And for anyone tempted by the butter variety, the label confirms there is no dairy fat. It is artificial butter flavor on a base of corn syrup. Convenience and flavor engineering take center stage, while safety and authenticity are left behind. Forest Country, gourmet bottles line specialty store shelves with the promise of regional pride, with Wisconsin maple syrup stamped right across the front. But a closer look at the back label reveals a very different story. Only 18% of what is inside is actual maple syrup. The rest is cane syrup, making up a whopping 82% of the bottle. This blend is perfectly legal under current labeling rules, as long as the percentage is disclosed somewhere, even if it is buried in tiny print. Most shoppers, drawn in by the maple leaf graphics and the specialty shop setting, never realize they are paying premium prices for what is mostly cheap filler. The ingredient split is right there in black and white, but you have to know where and how to look. It is a numbers game that banks on trust and regional branding to distract from the reality of what is actually in the bottle. Maple Grove bottles up Vermont's maple heritage, but what is actually inside depends on which label you pick up. Their pure maple syrup line, stamped with a single ingredient and grade A certification, sits quietly on the shelf, and is often dwarfed by the brand's cheaper maple-flavored syrups. Scan the ingredient panel on these mass-market bottles and the story changes. Cane sugar or corn syrup leads the list, with caramel color and natural flavors filling out the recipe. Vermont branding covers both, from the Green Mountains on the label to the maple leaf icons, but only one is true to what the state is known for. Most shoppers, drawn in by price and packaging, grab the blend without realizing it is not real maple syrup. The genuine article is there, but in low volumes, tucked behind a wall of lookalikes. The difference is buried in small print, not the bold Vermont imagery that sells the illusion. At the top of the list sits Great Value Original, a syrup that captures the reality of mass confusion in Canadian grocery aisles. On Walmart shelves, two nearly identical bottles stand side by side, one labeled 100% pure maple syrup, the other simply original. The price difference is dramatic, often less than half for the corn syrup blend. Ingredient lists tell the story. Great Value Original is dominated by corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, water, artificial flavors, and caramel color. Yet the packaging mimics the pure maple version so closely that many shoppers reach for the cheaper bottle, assuming it is just another grade of maple. National sales data consistently place Great Value Original among the most purchased syrup products in Canada, despite containing no maple at all. This is not just a matter of taste, it is a system that profits from confusion, exploiting every loophole in labeling and shelf placement to steer families away from the real thing. Across all 7 brands, one pattern is clear. Fake syrups thrive on weak labeling laws and consumer trust. Real maple syrup is rare. Imposters dominate shelves. Protect your breakfast and choose authenticity.